All right, welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. Just a quick video today to just talk to you guys about something that has come up quite a bit over the past year in the comments and emails and other things. And so I just wanted to talk about this and see what you guys think. What is a real homestead? Some people have emailed me and left nasty comments, especially when we moved out to this new homestead or this new property with less acreage. And they said, "You're not a real homesteader. That's not a real homestead. You live in the city," and all these kinds of things, you know, that people say. It's a pretty nasty comments, you know, of some people, which we generally just dismiss, obviously, but I have received this several times from different people. So I wanted to talk about this. What is a real homestead? If you look up the definition, it's pretty loose. Modern, day, I think people use this term all the time. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube channels out there with some kind of homestead name in them. Sometimes they're in suburban homesteads, sometimes they're in apartments, sometimes they're in large acreage, 50, 100 acres, sometimes they're just on 2 acres. So what is a real homestead? I mean, how do you qualify? Do I qualify as a real homestead? Am I fake? Am I allowed to say that I'm a homesteader, or I'm allowed to say that this is a homestead? So let me tell you what I think. Homesteading, to me comes from the old 1700s, 1800s, when you had all these people coming here from Europe and all these other places, and they were looking for new property. They had the Homestead Act, where you could go out and claim, a certain number of acres out in the Midwest, and all these things. And you go out and you just basically you buy some supplies and some livestock and some tools and whatever, an ox or a horse or whatever you could afford in a wagon. You go out and you find a plot of land, you claim it as your own, and you build yourself a homestead. So how does that translate into modern day? Well, I'm not getting tools and throwing everything in the back of my truck and getting a trailer, and filling it up with a bunch of stuff and getting some livestock and going out into the middle of nowhere and surviving, completely off the grid and completely with no, support. Even the people back then didn't survive with no support. They still had to go into town and get seed and feed for animals and tools and other things. Like, they didn't make all that themselves. They still relied on supplies from some town, usually, in some way. And I think that translates into the modern day. It's basically the same idea. Now, it might not be on 50 acres or 100 acres, and you might not be farming. I think farming is something different. And our old homestead, our old place, we called it a farm. It was a farm. We baled hay, we grew a crop, and we sold it, and we provided food for our animals. That was farming. Generally, homesteading is a little different, right? We're here just trying to use the land that we have. That could be, a quarter of an acre. That could be your backyard. That could be, your balcony in an apartment, if you want it to be. I don't care what it is, but you're using what you have to provide for yourself. Obviously, if you live in an apartment and you have a balcony, you're not gonna be able to provide all your food for yourself. You just don't have enough room. But if you live in a quarter acre or half acre, you probably could provide a good amount of food for yourself. You can have livestock there. You can have chickens. You can have rabbits. You can have other things that you can sustainably provide food for yourself. You can garden, and we've talked about all these things. That's a homestead to me. Yeah, you might not be living off grid, and you might not be out there, surviving, every bit of your food grown from your land and all these kinds of things. I think the homesteading spirit and idea is living sustainably and growing your own food and doing as much as you can yourself, using the tools and the skills that you have and that you can learn to make a living for yourself. Most of us, 99% of us, have other jobs. I had a few years where I did not have another job. I did the homesteading thing or farming thing full time. YouTube helped provide income for me during those times. I now have a job at a church. I now work and serve the majority of my time, off of my homestead. And so it's a trade-off. Like, I come here and we try to do as much as we can. We raise the goats, and we try to use them for milk and for income to sell the goat babies. We have the chickens, and they have eggs, and we breed those out every year, and we take them into the butcher, get them harvested for meat, or we could do that ourselves as well. We provide our own compost. We do all these kinds of things. We garden. Even here, we're gardening. This year, I haven't shown you much of it, but we are starting this year off with some patio gardening, and next year we'll put in some more raised beds and other things. So, are we a real homestead? Well, I'm going to continue to say that I'm a homesteader. Some of you might not agree. Some of you may say that we live in the city. I don't know. For those of you guys who have maybe just stumbled upon this video or not been following along more than the past year, we moved to this woodland homestead, what we call a woodland homestead. It's 5 acres of solid wooded lot. and there was nothing here. We're starting from scratch. We're building up a sustainable ecosystem here. We are more in the country and more remote here on 5 acres than we were at our old farm on 25 acres. We lived on a busy road. We had neighbors much closer by. We lived on a paved road and all these things. We lived closer to town. We are way more remote here, and it feels like we're way out in the middle of nowhere, and we are quite a bit more remote here. We just have less property, and the trade-off for that was that we got a bigger house. We have a growing family and needed more space. Here in Michigan, we spend the majority of our year inside because the winters are so nasty, and so that was our trade-off. But we still are building a homestead here. We are still homesteading. We are still in the spirit of growing and raising our own food, raising our own livestock, creating a system of, animals provide compost. The compost goes to the garden produces food. The food goes to us, and some of it goes, the scraps go back to the animals, and they produce eggs, and all these things that we've been talking about for years. This is part of the system. Grow our own fruit. We're planting, crops that we can grow here in the woods. We're transitioning some of the woodland into pastures. We'll be taking down more trees in here. We'll be building on barns and doing other things. And so this is the homesteading spirit that we have, that we're doing here. So my opinion is, if you want to call yourself a homesteader out there, if you're trying to live, in some kind of a sustainable way and do things yourself and raise your own food, grow your own food, these kinds of things, then you're a homesteader in my book. Don't let anybody tell you different. So I just wanted to talk about that, a quick talking point video. What do you guys think? I know some of you out there, you think this was a mistake. I know people have said, I can't believe you gave up the property. I could tell you guys all the reasons. There are so many. That property was great, and it was also a disaster. A lot of it was unusable. You saw the maple syrup, the problems we had, the water, the drainage, the muddy mess of everything most of the year. There was a lot of problems there. This homestead has its own challenges, but it's much better land, and I can do a lot more here, and so I'm excited about that. Hopefully you guys are too. Lots of projects we're still working on. I just got a cement mixer today. We'll be doing some the chicken coop build. I'm hoping to start next week and do a bunch of videos on that next week. I've got some time off. Look forward to that stuff. We're making this place into a real homestead, people. That's the goal. So let me know what you guys think. Of course, don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. If you just found this video out there and it's the first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe and tag along. We do everything that I just talked about. Homesteading type stuff, DIY projects. We try to do everything ourselves. I try to share the things that I've learned and the things that I know with you guys. Anywhere from smart home stuff to all the way down to raising chickens and rabbits and goats and gardening and other things. And so love to have you tag along. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.